Right, welcome everybody to the Town of Richmond meeting of Water and Sewer Commission, August 5th, 2024. Public comments? Other than more rain? We'll make one. We got some good news. We received a word from Senator Welch's office that they've been approved on the first step of getting $1,250,000 for the upgrade to the sewer.
Excuse me, could I trouble you to pull the microphone a little closer to you?
That deserves to be heard.
Thank you.
Aaron, you want me to repeat that?
Yes, please.
Yep. So I was making public comment that we received word from Senator Welch's office. They had put in through, I guess, I don't know if it was not appropriations, but the first step of us receiving $1,250,000 towards the upgrade to the sewer treatment facility.
I believe that's the dewatering.
That could be, right, but that is contingent based on the upcoming budget year.
Right.
So this is like we've been approved for that appropriations, but like our budget process and appropriations, the budget needs to be approved.
Right,
So that'll happen in the fall.
Right. Maybe that's right. So it's a step one.
Right. We were at least approved for it to move forward, but who knows what happens with the budget, but it's in there.
All the way down on the end. There it is.
Yes. The good news is step one.
Right.
Baby steps.
Yeah. Better to be approved than not approved.
That's right. So, so are there any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda tonight?
I just have a question that I'd like to raise, probably at the end. Our housing committee really would like to know what kind of plans have been laid out in the past for sewer extension. No, they haven't happened.
Yeah, Lisa, you might want to move your mic
Oh.
so your laptop's not.
They have a lot of questions. It's affecting developers' abilities to really quote on housing and so forth. And they'd like to know if the sewer commission or sewer authority has plans kind of in the table or something. I don't think there are, but
We can address that now or at the end of the meeting.
how about the end of the meeting?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll make
Your
sure
choice.
that we 5 minutes towards that.
Okay.
It's a short answer.
I know. I didn't want to
One
say it.
word.
I didn't want to say it on my own authority. I wanted to have everybody involved.
You must pay to play. That's the short answer.
Yeah, yeah. But
So- Exactly.
How
Right.
much?
Okay. Moving right along, no additions, deletions, or modifications other than we'll make comment towards Lisa's question there. First up, approval of minutes from July 15th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
so moved, Mr. Chair.
Second the motion?
This is Aaron, I'll second.
Discussion? No discussion. Calling for a vote to approve the minutes from July 15th, 2024.
Aaron, aye.
Bard, aye.
Lisa, aye.
Morgan, aye. Motion passed. We'll do warrants next since they all are lumped together here. We have check warrant report 22315 in the amount of 35,069. Check warrant report 22312 in the amount of 11,172. And then check warrant report in the amount of $8,016.32. I have a motion to approve the warrants.
Is Bard so moved?
Second,
I'll second. Lisa.
the seconds discussion. Any questions on the amounts or what's getting
No.
paid?
Otherwise, just press pound to continue.
Okay, no discussion. So calling for a vote to approve the warrants as stated.
This is Aaron.
This is Jay, aye. Bard, aye.
Lisa, aye.
Morgan, aye. Warrants passed.
You are in the meeting now. There are 4 participants in the meeting.
Is that you, Jay?
Recorded. Recorded. Recorded.
Oh.
Sorry, little technical stuff on my end.
Oh, that is it.
Okay. All right, technical difficulties there. We had three purchase orders. First one, purchase order number 5010 in the amount of $81,500 for payments to Hoyt Tanner Associates for the 20-year study covering public outreach, funding assistance, sewer use ordinance review, recommendation, and grant application assistance. Do I have a motion to approve the purchase order 5010?
Is Bart so moved?
Second?
This is Jay, second.
Okay, Jay, second. Discussion? Discussions or questions? No discussions. Calling for a vote to approve purchase order 5010 in the amount of 81,500.
Jay, aye.
Aaron, I.
Bart, aye.
Lisa, I.
Morgan, aye. Motion passed. Second purchase order 5014 in the amount of $26,033 to engineering services to Hoyt Tanner Associates for effluent pump replacement. I have a motion,
What was that purchase order? Morgan?
5014,
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve purchase order 5414.
second.
Is Bart, I'll second that.
Discussion? And just a quick note, this is, Steve, you call,
This is to help get us one new influent pump that will work in the 20-year upgrade,
Mm.
but we need it now because we really only have one pump.
and you'll just, I think you'll cover that a little bit further in the
Yeah,
intermediate
I
time.
mean,
Okay,
they're doing the engineering part to make sure that we ask for the right type of pump that'll fit into their system when we go to a 3-pump system in the future.
right, good. Okay, calling for a vote.
Aaron, I.
Jay, aye.
Bart, aye.
Lisa, I.
Morgan, aye. Motion passed. Last purchase order number 4743 in the amount of $32,455 to P&P Septic for pumping failed pump station during the flood. Do I have a motion to?
This is
So
Aaron.
moved.
I'll second.
All right, Aaron will second. Jay made the motion. Aaron second. Discussion? Okay, thank you, P&P. Calling for a vote to approve purchase order 4743.
Jay, aye.
Aaron, I.
Bart, aye.
Lisa, I.
Morgan, aye. Motion passed. Okay. Warrants and purchase order is complete. Next up, consideration of moving the first meeting in September, Labor Day, from September the 2nd to September the 3rd.
This is Aaron. I'll move the meeting.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Lisa will second. Discussion? No discussion. Calling for a vote.
Aaron, I.
Jay, aye.
Bart, aye.
Lisa, I.
Morgan, aye. Motion passed. So we've moved that first Monday meeting in September to the Tuesday, September the 3rd. All right, item B, update of flood recovery. Steve, would you like to touch on that?
Sure. So the pump station was a complete loss this time. Both compressors, both motors. Some of the check valves are even failed. We have one new compressor here while it's Phil Laramie's retrofitting all of the parts and pieces that need to go on it, and then we can get it installed. He took the two that were in there, made one good one, and that's what's been limping us through. We purchased 2 new motors. We're having the other 2 motors, they bake them, they dry them out. They'll replace all the bearings in them. So we will have those, they're supposed to be 100% when they're done with them. So we'll have those as spares next time this happens. And we'll have the 2 compressors that are the one that's rebuilt, and we'll have another one rebuilt that were in there as replacements if this happens again. So we're essentially gonna end up with spares on the shelf, ready to go for the next 6-month flood. I don't know what else to do. Holt Tanner has come out with their pump station expert. We've laid out all kinds of options to them. And they suggested some. Everything from directional boring under the Winooski and not having a pump station. To, because also with the pump station, the sewer line on the bridge has been, it's not as bad as it was in December, but it's going to I mean, we're looking at probably another $50,000 bill there to fix it again.
What was I guess I didn't realize it got damaged this time. What was damaged to the sewer? The
Every
bridge
one on the bridge,
Yeah.
every hanger is bent again. So it's supposed to hang straight down. They're all bent to the side, which makes it out of pitch. The insulation is ripped off in several places. It took some significant hits this time. No tree got wedged in it like last time, but so they came out, they've looked at that. They've looked at the ability of moving it, putting it up where the water line is. I told them that every option I want to take advantage of. We've looked at one option is completely doing away with the pump station that we have, building a complete new one over towards the water house on that right away in. Does two things. It gets off of Bridge Street if we do need to do pumping or something there. You know, the trucks aren't holding up traffic. Directional boring underneath the Winooski. If it was done right and the elevations are right, potentially wouldn't need to have a pump station then. There's what they call an overwatch system, which basically it's two pumps that work together. They're flow based, and basically all it does is as the sewage comes in, all it does is give it velocity to get, and that's really all we're doing. It's literally just to get us over the Winooski. So there's this overwatch system that's been designed to go into pump stations like ours. Basically take all the guts out of ours. You put this unit down there. It has two immersible motors that they say they can stay underwater for up to 90 days.
Submersible.
No, immersible is what he said, not
Just
submersible.
come up for air every once in a while.
And basically all it does is flow based. It monitors the flow coming in, and it just, as it needs one pump, then the other one kicks on to, if there's flow enough. That system for our type of flows and stuff, I've gotten the estimate, that's like an $80,000. And it's basically comes in one package, slide it down the hole after we take everything out of ours and put in that. So we're looking at all kinds of options there.
How big is the sewer line that goes across the bridge?
6-inch.
So when we get to those options, it would be helpful to think of it, not just cost, but like ongoing maintenance, sort of pros,
Correct.
cons, to be able to evaluate them in a somewhat orderly, objective
Right.
fashion. And where I'm going, it might be worth spending more if it costs less in the long run.
Right.
Or maybe there's the 80,000 is a good price that's stable in the long run too, so.
In discussions with Phil Laramie, there is the option of mounting the compressors. They don't have to be down in there. They could be mounted up above ground. We'd obviously have to create a building for them. he's seen that done in places. The other problem is, you know, do we want a building right there now in the floodplain? There's also, and the two things that I'm really looking at right now, because we lost part of the control panel this time because it was submerged. I'm looking at raising that 5 feet more. Dan Pratt's supposed to be getting me an estimate worked up on that. That would get the control panel up high enough so that the water wouldn't get there. Well, I'm not gonna say wouldn't, but
Work hard.
yeah, harder than it does now. The other thing that I'm looking into is either raising the can lid, or making the cover that we have now watertight. But you know, those are options. I mean, I'm not gonna keep pouring money into this thing, into a pump station where every 6 months it's gonna fail or we're gonna have all kinds of problems with it. So my goal is, even the short term, I'm gonna do something, try to do something to eliminate the problem. To ensure that we don't have a $32,000 bill for pumping, because we're not, you know, it's hard for me to stomach that. If we could do something to make the pump station safer. Even for the short term. I mean, the engineering end of it is, you know, that's still a 3 or 4 year out project. But every 6 months right now, we're having a flood that's major impact.
So
One other comment about the horizontal boring, if I remember correctly, the natural gas line is horizontally bored under the river.
Could be.
Down a ways, because I saw him doing
Yeah.
it. And so at first you think, geez, putting it under the river, that seems risky. But part of me is thinking, if you put a pressurized natural gas line under the river.
well, that's, and I'll make comment, this past industries I've worked in, that, I mean, when they go under the Mississippi River, and they're 30 feet below the bottom of the rivers there in 12, 18-inch lines. So that's, yeah, that's all they do now. And
All those gas
It's an
lines everywhere
acceptable
across the
thing.
country.
that's
Yeah.
right. And I think that they put up like cathodic protection. I don't know if it's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the dairy farm that I worked on was, they had gone through all the permitting process to directionally bore under the Winooski to put manure lines in so they could use a drag link, so they didn't have to. It actually was, it was more of a permitting process to directionally bore under the railroad tracks than it was the Winooski.
I keep hearing about.
Huh?
Perfect.
No, I mean,
Segue
So-
an hour from now, yeah.
but part of the thing is, if all of it worked right and we could do it and not have a pump station, you know, that cost might be beneficial in the wrong run, you know? So I told them everything, let's look at everything. Because right now we're looking at, you know, $50,000 to get the pipe across the bridge fixed again. We're looking at least, I think it's gonna be close to $30,000 by the time we get everything into the pump station and back up.
1,000 to pump it, or whatever it was.
And yeah, and
And we had to directionally bore that water line this spring.
yeah, you guys did.
And it was a high cost for 1 hour's worth of work, but when you look at what they did, I was shocked.
Yeah.
At actually how cheap it was. And I do, obviously your line's gonna be 4
Yes.
inches thicker than the one that we
Right.
did. It's gonna be a more intensive process, but if you do it once, that's probably gonna be similar to the cost of one flood's damage. So it seems like it might have some serious merit.
So we're looking at all the options. And as soon as Holt Tanner gets back to him with us, I'll bring him in so we can discuss the pros and cons.
See, that
And-
still has to be pumped up into the plant, right? I mean, from there's not gravity flow all the way.
No, but if it gets to the plant
Mhm.
gravity, then yeah. Richmond only has one pump station and it's that one. It
Mhm.
just happens to be located in the worst position ever.
I asked Brad what he was doing that day, wandering around. He says, I'm looking for the cover. So it was, I guess.
So yeah, that's the big problem for us right now is the pump station. I'm trying to get it back to, 100% where I can go home and sleep. Not worry that it's not working right, but it's coming.
And when do you think we'll hear about repairs for the sewer line on the bridge?
We haven't even put I
We
don't,
gotta put out an RFP
we
still.
gotta put an
And we're
RFP.
still debating whether we're gonna try to combine it with tucking it up a little bit more. That was brought
Yeah.
up at the last meeting. So there's a couple still things out there, but we're gonna put it out for an RFP.
So maybe.
I mean, it's
Also put an RFP out for that directional boring, or is that?
no,
That's
because
part
we
of
really
the
haven't,
horse.
I mean, the engineers need to do some design stuff.
I
for
think,
that.
yeah, I think this RFP, we need to get fixed by December.
Yeah,
But
I
goodness, it's
don't-
we gotta either leave it in place and fix it, or can we get it up and fix it
Yeah.
before December? But then
Right.
this place would probably take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Just seems like we're gonna spend 50 grand.
It's,
Put it towards
it's,
the-
it's 30 grand just for the scaffolding.
Yeah.
Right.
We know that. I mean,
It's like we should start a business here.
He's making money off us.
Well, to Aaron's point, is there any plausible scenario in which in a 4 or 5 month period, we could contemplate horizontal boring?
I don't, I'd have to talk to Walt Tanner to see where they are.
Because part of that's just like, fork in
Yeah.
the road. If you just can't get it done and we have to do something, then
That's a good point.
when the other options have been eliminated, one's left. But if it is possible to get ahead of it,
I'll give him a call and ask, see what,
Well, too, Steve, there's piping to and from that pass through under the river. I mean, we could, if we wanted to, we could start working on the above ground stuff anytime. Assuming that we know where we're going under the river and all that.
yeah,
Save time.
but there again, we'd still have to get it out to bid and everything.
Yeah, I guess availability of directional boring companies, design, permitting.
It's the permitting process. I bet you it's a year out
yeah.
just
to
in
do
permitting.
I think it's probably true between engineering
Yeah.
specs to the permitting,
Mhm. The inspection.
and under the river is probably a unusually rigorous permitting.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, it's more rigorous to go under the railroad.
Okay.
As it turns out.
But long term, I don't think we have an option. We can't, if floods are gonna happen every year and every year we have to put up a scaffolding before we do any. The scaffolding is gonna. Directional boring ones is gonna be cheaper than scaffolding every year. We just can't probably get it done this year.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
but there is. So the water line is tucked up really high and it hasn't been touched at all. And Holt Tanner believes there is space to tuck the sewer line up beside it. But they had to do some measurements and some calculations, but they felt that we could tuck the sewer line up beside where the water line is. The water line is basically under the added section of sidewalk across the bridge. So it's on the downhill side of the flooding and it is higher. The sewer line they thought might be able to be put up there. So one of the options was, well, if we've got to spend all this money, can we do the engineering, get it up, tuck it up underneath there to save us, for a couple of years or whatever until we decide, but,
Okay.
so all the options are out there. It's what we've got to deal with in the flooding it's every 6 months right now.
Right.
I knock on wood, I hate, what happened in St. Johnsbury, but it could have easily have been right here again, another
Yeah.
8-inch rain in 4 hours.
Good, okay.
Steve, is there a benefit if we tuck it up? You know, the theoretical advantage we have there is that the line is accessible if we need to get to it. If we bury it and it's under the river and we have a problem, we have to, I don't know what we do if it's under the river. I would, if both are an option, it sounds like tucking it up under the bridge would be preferable.
One thing I learned, because I asked that same question, and maybe you already know this, but when they directionally bore, they put like a sleeve and then they put the line through it. So there's like a tube and then the other thing goes
Yeah.
through it. And they assured me that if something happened to the line underneath there again, they could pull it out and
And-
stick a new line. through the
Okay.
same.
That's good to know. I did not know that.
Yeah, pretty slick. Okay, thank you, Steve. Any other questions, comments?
The only other thing we had is do we have some gross estimate of what total flood related expenses for water sewer?
I don't right now.
Next
I,
time.
because,
But we're easily
I-
over $100,000.
huh?
We're
Oh.
easily over $100,000.
Well, we're gonna be in that range, I think. I really do.
Yeah, sounds like
By
it.
the time we get everything done, I mean,
Mhm.
I haven't even seen the price on the electric motors. The compressors were $4,500 a piece. There was some valving and stuff that we needed to change. Yeah, I mean, it's creeping up there. Plus the control panel and having the wiring all redone. You know, Dan Pratt was immediately sending one of his guys down here as soon as it was dry enough. And they got that done. I haven't seen a bill for that.
I would only note that for folks who haven't looked at the attachments and maybe they're watching or watch this later, that this is all being tracked as part of a FEMA
Yes,
hope for
Yeah.
reimbursement. So all these flood related expenses.
all
including
flood related expenses are under FEMA. Well, they're
Correct,
under a
right.
flood designation spending thing. Both for sewer and water.
Well, hopefully we're successful in claiming as much as that as well. All right, thank you, Steve. I'll put on there for next agenda, maybe total flood expense.
Yeah, I hopefully we'll have a better idea by then.
Right.
I haven't bothered to get the bills in yet. I mean, they'll send them when they send them, but.
Yeah, so can you please send us an invoice? All right, next up, follow up on inspection of frac and water tank.
I haven't, there's been some, I guess our town lawyer,
Yeah, no, we had our lawyer has reached out to some engineering companies about getting involved with the lawsuit. We do have Heritage Engineering who will inspect the tank for us and kind of give us an estimate
Yeah.
of what to think to go forward, but no interest in pursuing any sort of lawsuit. So the next step is our attorney is going to start reaching out to lawyers of, engineers and be like, hey, who wants to get involved with this process? Should we pursue it?
but didn't we lose our town lawyer? He's now a judge.
That I don't know for sure, but yeah, that's something along.
One of them.
Yeah, the another one will step up, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There is people lose sight of this. There's not a lawyer.
Right.
There's a law firm.
A law
And
firm.
depends
But the
on
one that
topic.
was handling this, I think.
Right. I
What
think you're
is
right.
now been
Yeah.
appointed to be a judge.
Right.
That was the last discussion that I had with Josh.
Right, so basically Heritage Engineering will tell us, do we have some grounds for a lawsuit? And then if yes or no, we would then have to pursue another engineer.
And so this seems to me, it's like a forensic engineer, somebody that's willing to testify against other engineers. It's like finding an attorney that's going to go sue another attorney. It's a somewhat specialized area that many people are not enthusiastic about
Yeah.
doing.
And it may
members of the
require an
field.
out-of-state firm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, okay. To be continued, we'll wait to hear back from the attorney,
More than once, probably.
right? Okay, review of July water data.
I can pull that up. Hold on.
Pretty good, other than flood related stuff, everything's pretty darn good again.
So, yeah, there were the days that we didn't produce any water. And basically the drop in the chlorine there was basically, that's what happens. Chlorine dissipates over time. So,
Sorry.
that drop when we weren't producing water is why we keep the chlorine number higher. And so we have that little,
Comfort.
bumper
Bump.
to get us through. And then the one down below, we had an issue with the the one down, yep. We had an issue with the chlorine pump. One day we noticed it, fixed it, went right back to being good. So, we're rock solid on our fluoride numbers. As you can see, fluoride doesn't dissipate over time. So what's in the tank is fluoridated to the level and it stays pretty much there. So, yeah, the water numbers are pretty easy for us right now.
Right now, good. Well, you got that dialed in.
Yep.
Nice.
That's good. Okay. Update on progress of hiring a fourth staff member.
That has been least of my,
Put it on the back burner.
I know, I have 5 people to interview. I need to call them. I need 5 minutes to make the phone calls. My work phone has died and I'm waiting for a new one. So it's been a little trying since all my work numbers are in that phone. It literally died. It rang and I pulled it out of my pocket and there was nothing. It won't charge. It won't take anything.
Oh,
So
boy.
Connie, that was last Wednesday. Connie is supposed to be, so I've been tied to the landline at the plant trying to make calls and arrange people for.
Do you remember how to operate that or?
Yeah, I do. It's not a rotary phone, but
Oh.
Yeah.
Steve, does your phone need a battery maybe?
huh?
Does your phone need a battery?
No,
Those are easy to. replace.
it had been working fine and everything, and then nothing. I mean, literally, it was charged fully that day, and I took it out of my pocket. And this, yeah, I have had bad luck during the flood. I lost my personal phone in the aeration tank, so I've had a bad
Largest in the world.
run on phones lately. But, and it was, I think Connie said it was 5 years old, but
Oh.
I mean, it wasn't a new one.
So when my dad was the fire chief in Williston and they would hire someone, they would have like a hiring committee. And I believe that they sort of had, they would use the hiring committee sometimes to like triage candidates
Yep.
for them, cause sometimes they would get people that just didn't have the qualifications, but like you had to have an interview. If you feel like having, I guess I'm volunteering us without asking you guys, but if you feel like having some of us on a committee with you to maybe do like a first interview and then cause I don't know what your candidates have for qualifications, but I would offer.
So my first thing to all of them are come down to the plant, take a tour, see what this is about, because there are some people who just apply
Mhm.
and they don't realize this is a dirty job. It's not always, but it can be a dirty job and that weeds out some.
Yep.
But I'm to the point where there are 5 that I think have I literally just need to call them and say, come in and for a sit down interview now, and we'll discuss what's going on. We'll get there.
Totally. I just was trying to offer.
If the
help
flood
that would be
hadn't thrown
helpful.
a ringer in, I'd have been able to say, I was pretty confident I would say I have somebody. Mike and Brad have been awesome. We we are going, well, I don't know, this kind of rolls into the superintendent's report, but so, after the flood, we lent Mike to highway for, a week. Mike has a CDL. He stepped right into a truck and was driving, dump truck for the town so that the roads could get filled in quicker. You know, I gave Pete one more driver. He's back now. And we are going gangbusters ahead with everything. We have a aeration tank that had always been a fish tank that is now full of septage, or it is being used as an aeration tank. It has never been used as an aeration tank. There was a ever since the upgrade in 2003, because there was a design, well, there was a contractor's problem. The original tank was built with an inlet. They put the new headworks building right beside it. There was a 3/4 inch gap between the two. So as soon as we opened the knife valve to let the sewage in, it immediately flowed out into the driveway through that 3/4 inch gap. And I had, it just so happened that Holt Tanner was there, and I'm like, look, this is it's not been fit. It was never fixed. It could have never been used the way it was. The engineer who designed it, she's like, that should have been taken care of in the warranty program. It should have been grouted in. It was what it should have been done. We took Sika Flex and we filled the gap from the inside and from the outside. It's a short-term fix that will get us through. We can use it. It does not leak now. But it could have never been used as an aeration tank. It would have leaked into the driveway all the time.
Isn't this the sort of thing you see in your final acceptance walkthrough of the construction or contract work, like before you sign off on the final payment?
Ideally.
I assume somebody would have seen this. It literally, you could stick your hand between the two walls. You know, and as immediately we lowered the knife and the knife valve and started the sewage flowing in, and immediately Brad's like, stop, something's wrong. It's going everywhere.
Well, the same thing happened with our UV system. It didn't work from the day it was installed, and our previous superintendent just didn't bother to file a warranty claim. He just left it not working for 17 years.
So yeah, we are using it now, and we're in the process of cleaning the other one out. There is probably close to 3 feet of sludge and solids in the bottom of the existing tank that had been used for all these years. We are trying our best to there's going to be, I anticipated there's going to be about $15,000 worth to clean that tank out. We've come up with a couple of plans, and we're trying to do it a little cheaper in-house.
Would you hire P&P to come in?
No, I'm a little upset with P&P. So right now we're trying to handle it ourselves, which we are. We're pumping the sludge into the digester in small batches and mixing it with our septage and processing it that way. There's going to be a small amount of solids that is actual gravel that we're going to let dry out once we get it down. We're going to let it dry out, and then we'll physically bucket that out and send it to the landfill. So we're gonna try to take care of as much of it in-house, as we can, ourselves. But we're doing it in small batches. It doesn't seem to be having an adverse effect to the solids in the press or anything. We're kind of trying to wash the top off. The gravel is all underneath. The top is the sludge. So we're trying to pump that off the top in small batches and put it into the digester. So.
Okay.
Along with that, we are on the water side. We have 22 water meters installed. We are looking for more. Anybody? Sure. Tell us when. We actually have, I think Brad said there's 22 installed and online. You're one of them. There are 6 more that are installed, but they haven't synced in yet to the system. He has 4 scheduled for tomorrow, 4 for Wednesday. We're going forward right now with water meters, as many as we can get in. We haven't had too much problem. Mostly people, the problem has been with the people whose water meters have failed. They don't seem to wanna schedule a time to get a new meter in, but we're putting the pressure on there and, yeah,
So are they reporting in?
they're
So,
reporting.
like if ours is just spinning all the time again, you would get a notification?
Yeah, we have it set up but as soon as, so they Zener wants us to get like 40 meters in place. Then they're gonna come back and they're gonna start us going through the whole programming and everything and then at that same training, we'll get trained on how, so you will have access to a portal. You can see your meter every day and know how much you used the previous day and how much you used the next day, and you can set parameters for your own, I believe. If you're going away and nobody's at your house and your meter starts, at 1 a.m. starts going, then you know that there's a leak or something has happened. And you can, that the customer can call us, or we also can call the customer because we get the same information. So if somebody's gone on vacation and we're seeing unusual water usage, we can go and just shut the water off, on the outside at the curb stop. If we know that they're not home,
Does the platform, and maybe I missed it, have alerts for that unusual activity?
Yes.
Like,
Yep. But we haven't, we haven't had any alerts. It's still setting up itself.
Yep.
But, we're only a week in. Yours was.
I know at one point, Steve, there was a feature where if somebody was using water for 24 hours continuously, we would assume there was a leak. Is that another thing we can look for?
Yeah, all those things. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the things that people asked about a lot.
Yep. So each customer will have the ability to have a portal and look in. We've got some accounts right now that we've hooked up and we know that the person isn't home and we've seen no water usage.
Sure, I'm ready.
Hey, tell us when.
You could do yours like on the same day.
Yeah, try it. All right, well, I'll be in touch.
Okay, because we're ready. Brad and Mike, it's really a 2-man job. And and I help, but, they've been really good at figuring it out, getting the radios hooked up, and getting them working right. They're doing a really good job.
How much notice do you need?
Huh?
How much notice or do we just make a request and then you come back?
Tell me when they'll be there.
You can
I'm-
call him on his cell phone. The,
Don't call me on my cell phone, no.
I should know this off the top of my head, but I don't. How many meters are we changing out?
350, just about. Yeah, there's a few more. Some of the bigger ones are gonna take, they're gonna be a little more trying.
Yeah.
But, we're ready to tackle the one at the wastewater treatment plant, which we had another leak at the plant. And we had a 1-inch copper line blew a hole, right? It's just wore a hole right in the side. So that was easy. We in-house, we cut out the piece and plumbed in a piece and,
The ones like for the downtown building, 3-story,
the Bridge Street Hair building has been done.
Oh,
She was after me forever. We're gonna do Stone Corral this week. We're doing, we're trying to line up like some of the businesses, like the restaurants, so we can do them like on Mondays or when they don't need,
Close.
you know.
right.
The water interruption is about 15 minutes. Brad's pretty good about getting the old meter out and putting the new meter, they fit right back in. There's a couple up on Main Street of houses that we know have, old gate valves on their line. And we're gonna change those out with new, ball valves. And those will take a little bit more, but about 15 minutes is the interruption to the water. We did the town center, we've done the library, we've done the firehouse, town garage, we've done most of the town buildings. The round church, we did that one. The reader for the round church is actually in the basement, so we didn't even put it outside. So it reads fine. So it doesn't show, it's not anywhere, and that one also has no water usage because it's only for the heating in the, sprinkler system.
Fire sprinkler.
Yeah.
Good.
So we're moving forward with projects.
Good. All right. Thank you, Steve. So
We
we'll
have a 5-minute.
5-minute,
for
we'll
Lisa's
answer
question.
Lisa's question.
I think you raised your hand.
So Bart,
You're
would
the
you like to
longest
start?
standing employee or board member now.
I'll write it down.
So actually, if you go online to the town of Richmond, you'll see a page for the ordinances and policies, and we have both that are relevant here. So you can see it there. That's the page.
Water and sewer ordinance.
Yeah, so these are all lumped together in the current site, but then if you keep going down, Water Resource Department ordinances, 5 links. Then you keep going down, water and sewer policies. Why don't we pick this one? What's the date on this one? 2019.
Relatively recent.
Yeah, it's unusually recent for. It is the developer's responsibility to connect to the system's existing potable water and wastewater systems by making all the required extension to the existing system to provide the required level of service, potable water and wastewater to the project. The long and the short of this, and we've been around this barn a couple of times with the West Main conversations, started with including mobile home park at one point, West Main, it all boils down to, how would I summarize this? many people have good ideas that they think somebody should pay for. But then you boil down to, so whose obligation responsibility is to pay for it? It is not the current customers.
All of them.
Well, it's not all of them.
No,
It's
it's
very
all of them.
clear that it's the developer.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and when I was glibly saying it earlier in the meeting, you pay to play.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to. Like some other systems, this is a pretty common approach. That if you want to extend the water system, you have to build, and you want us to take it over, you can either do it a private line connected to our system, and it has a certain pathway. Or if you want to build it to town specs or water sewer specs and ask to take it over, that's another pathway.
What I'm looking for, I'm passing this on because the housing committee is trying to work on developing housing in the town. It's not a new thing. And it's also very difficult because one of the larger costs of doing that is, do they put in a giant septic system, or do they connect to, sewer and water amenities as they go
Yes.
by? Or do they have to start from scratch and go all the way back to the plant, that sort of thing? And that's not going to fly with any of the developers. 'Cause it's
Well,
sheer
I don't
cost.
know of anybody that would go all the way to the plant.
Well,
You'd
yeah,
be looking to connect lines somewhere.
exactly.
There were
Exactly.
extensive conversations over at least a decade
Mhm.
about how to get lines down
With the roofs
to,
and so forth.
down into the gateway,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. This is not the only town so situated.
Wow.
I don't know of a town that says, we'll put $1 million water sewer line extension for you and
Right.
somebody else will pay for it.
Yeah.
I am aware that there have been some conversations between the governor and the legislature, I don't know how far they've gotten, recognizing
Mhm.
that if you want to have infill around village and town centers,
Exactly.
you need water and sewer that's
Right.
extended.
Right.
Towns like this are not going to extend them on spec.
Mhm. That's right.
And if the developer's not gonna do it,
We're in a
we,
chicken
like
egg
other
thing.
towns, will be stuck.
Mhm.
And so that is something you look at, is there like the golden goose somewhere or the deep pockets that might come forward with this as a way of building more housing? I don't think it's the town of Richmond taxpayers. And I mean, we could petition them and see if they want to put $1 million in.
Got it. And it's not the ratepayers either. You're right.
And it's not the
Doesn't
current
benefit them.
customers.
True.
And for those of you who weren't here, when we looked at income surveys to the current users,
Mhm.
the customers, the residents who are connected to the existing water sewer system were demonstrably lower income than the town as a whole. It's not really surprising if you look at the houses we have out in the hills and the houses
Yeah.
and apartments
Mhm.
that we have in
And the
town.
ones out in the hills aren't on the system. for the most
And,
part.
but that illustrates
Mhm.
that it's difficult to ask, on average, lower income people to
Mhm.
subsidize water sewer for somebody else.
Sure.
So
Quick-
then,
Quick thing if I can.
Yeah.
I've been attending meetings of the Vermont League of Cities and Towns Policy Committee on Quality of Life. They asked people who wanted to be on it. I signed up. And one of the things we had an extended discussion with last week was that all the incentives in the world are great, but you can't put new housing up where there's no water and sewer, and that perhaps the league should be pushing for, as a way to leverage housing, is pushing for more funding to extend water and sewer. And when I brought that up, and everybody in the room were like, well, yeah, that makes tons of sense. So that may be something that VLCT winds up pushing for in the next legislative session.
so, yeah, and I frankly had heard that conversation. I think it was the governor in a conversation separately saying that is something we should do, not just VLCT or you, that I think there is a broad recognition that water sewer is important infrastructure.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we could sort of cross our fingers and wait for legislative action. We could talk to our legislators about this is something that we think is useful. I think there is general alignment. It's just,
Mhm.
you know,
The cost?
how much money
Yeah,
is
yeah.
would the state come up with, and what is the process
Right.
that they would use to award it or to subsidize it?
Right.
But lots of towns are running into this, you know, if you want, especially housing of any density,
Mm,
it's
Exactly.
really difficult to have septic systems.
It's an absolute
for
roadblock,
50
right.
units,
Yeah.
or it's
Right.
more expensive.
You know, I would think you'd need to identify where the growth is gonna be as well, instead of just, we need $1 million. But for example, going out the gateway, there was sort of a proposal that
Mhm.
borrow money and then everybody would connect.
If you build it, they will come kind of thing.
Well,
But,
but
yeah.
financing it, that they would pay it back over, was it 30 years? The loan?
There were a couple of scenarios when interest rates were arguably lower,
Right.
but it was still not, I can't see a way it was economically feasible. I mean, you were looking
Yeah.
on top of extending the lines,
Mhm.
then the private property owner would have to actually connect to the lines.
Mhm.
And then you'd have to deal with pump stations to push it up.
Mhm.
So were engineering and cost obstacles for those
Right.
property owners. And unless you got enough scale, like somebody's gonna build 100 apartments where now the scale might work, but even then,
Mhm.
I'm not sure that that sort of density exists anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, our zoning doesn't have too many places where that kind of density.
Right.
But
We were looking at a scenario where individual homeowners who did not want to develop, they just wanted to keep living there, were looking at paying bond amortization costs of $20,000 plus a year. We could not find a way to make it work.
right. Mhm. It's
Um,
expensive.
I don't mean to cut this off, but we have 2 minutes to
Right.
select board, so.
So
Yep,
thanks
that's fine.
for next meeting agenda.
We could put that on the next
Yeah.
meeting if you want.
No, I've heard what I expected to hear. I mean, nobody has a solution. That's why it hasn't happened.
No.
So,
I think the
It is-
solution is legislative action.
yes.
Like we're
Right.
If
looking
the
for the
state
deep
gets behind
pockets or
it, then a lot
something.
of things can happen. If they don't, then it isn't gonna.
So follow up on total flood costs, which we may
Yeah.
or may not have.
Yep, I should have more of a number for that.
Maybe we'll hear more about the water tank.
Um,
We'll just
I
put
thought
as
that
a
was
follow-up.
basically
It's,
in
yeah, no, I think, yeah,
engineer's hands.
right,
Okay, we can.
yeah, we'll see what. if we
Waiting
get a
for them.
report From him, yeah.
Question.
Maybe the staffing and
Yeah.
the,
Staffing, yeah.
something else we
A
talked
panel
about
or
tonight.
something put together.
But we were talking about boring lines, but I guess,
Yeah.
Well, I'll talk to
Yeah.
Hill Tanner and see what,
Tanner
I mean,
checking it up.
they can give me an idea of how far in the future that would be, but
How many more meters you got in?
we're here about to meet.
I mean,
Okay.
I mean, Brad and Mike would like to be up to like 6 a day, but I gotta get on, front porch forum and see if I can get some people to sign up that way. But we basically have just been calling people that we knew or we stopped.